Hey, welcome back to the Madagascast. Today I'll share what Pokémon I think each of the Madagascar characters would be. I'm going to be covering a variety of characters, so keep watching until the end to see who the characters are gonna be and let me know in the comments which characters you want me to cover if I make a part 2 of this. The first character is
Alex the Lion!
The obvious choices would be Pyroar or Solgaleo, but I don't want to just choose Pokemon that are based on the same animal as the characters. So, after going through a bunch of different Pokemon that I thought might work, such as Mimikyu and Alolan Dugtrio, I found one that fits better, Hoopa. I know this sounds a little crazy, but I am being serious. In the 18th Pokemon movie, we learn that Hoopa just appeared in Dahara City one day and was given food and a home in return for fulfilling people's wishes. You could compare this to Alex, who immediately became the star of Central Park Zoo when he arrived there. Hoopa's Pokédex entry from Pokemon Y also states that it hoards things it likes, which is presumably what Alex did during his time in Central Park Zoo, as he has access to merchandise from the zoo even before their official release, which we learn in Madagascar 1, and we also know that Marty was able to keep a lot of the things he got from Alex, so the zoo staff at least doesn't care about the things the animals have. Hoopa also has two forms, the confined and unbound forms, and while the confined form is just a silly little guy, the unbound form is a hairy beast, which reminds me personally of how the hungry Alex changes into a beast in the first Madagascar film. Maybe not perfect, but I think it's at least the Pokemon that best matches Alex. Now the next one is, in my opinion, a perfect fit. The second character is the leader of the penguins of Madagascar.
Stripper.
I found a Pokemon that is visually similar to him, and he shares basically all of its abilities and concepts. It might seem a bit outlandish, but the Pokemon I mean is Dragapult. Ignoring its head and tail, the basic shape of its body is at least close to Skipper's. Dragapult and Skipper both have slim arms, their feet look similar and the shape of their legs and how they are connected to the body is the same. The front of Skipper's body is white, the rest is black with a clear distinction between the black and white areas, which obviously is because he is a penguin. Dragapult has a light tan front torso and the rest of its body is blue, and while it's hard to see in the Sugimori artwork, just like Skipper's, Dragapult's lighter torso color extends up to the face. Skipper has a very distinct head shape, as his head is flat and has a somewhat triangular shape in the front, above where his eyebrows would be if he had any. It's not hard to see what I want to compare this to. Dragapult's head is literally a flat triangle and it has a beak-like mouth. Its design is partially based on the stealth bomber aircraft, which matches Skipper's alleged military background. Dragapult can turn invisible, similar to how stealth bombers avoid radar detection and similar to how the penguins do their best to act stealthy and avoid the radar in order to not get busted. And while Skipper doesn't shoot torpedoes, well, neither does Dragapult. It shoots Dreepy, its first pre-evolution. According to Dragapult's Pokemon Violet Pokédex entry, the fastest one of a group is usually surrounded by Dreepy, waiting to be fired by the Dragapult, which, in my opinion, is at least a similar dynamic as Skipper being the penguin's leader, as they recognize him the most capable one of the group, and them waiting to be ordered around by their leader, Skipper. This doesn't mean I consider Private, Rico and Kowalski to be Dreepy, but if they all had to be Pokemon of the same evolution line, I think Skipper would be a Dragapult and they would be Dreepy following him. Otherwise, I think there's a different Pokemon that is more fitting for each of them. Next is Melman. He's a loser, he's always acting like he's sick, he's super forgettable, I hate him, and he wants to rail a hippo. So, he's a cup 2. Yeah, that's it. I dislike Melman a lot. Now, maybe the least known character of this video, the lemur revolutionary Becca. Most of the connections between her and the Pokemon I chose also apply to her husband Abner, but just based on general vibes, I'm choosing Becca because Abner is stupid and I hate him. The Pokemon in question is Krabby. According to Krabby's Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire Pokédex entry, they fight each other over their territory, similar to how Becca and Abner want to kill Julien and take over the kingdom of Madagascar, and also similar to how they literally help fight the mountain lemurs to get their territory back later in the series. According to Krabby's Pokemon Stadium Pokédex entry, when its pincers fall off, they will regrow and be stronger than the ones before, creating a nice parallel to the Lala revolution itself and how Abner and Becca are absolutely awful at everything and fail at every attempt, but they still won't give up. Additionally, Krabby is one of only 17 Pokemon and part of one of only 10 evolution lines of Pokemon that can learn the move Guillotine. Abner and Becca want to start a revolution and kill King Julien, and if you know what a guillotine is or you know about the French Revolution, it's not hard to see the connection. The reason I chose Becca and not Abner is that she really is the head of operations and her husband is just a mindless, stupid goon that follows her even though he doesn't really understand what is even going on. In many ways, Abner is like a majority of the people that vote for parties like the AfD or FPÖ in Germany and Austria. He disagrees with the government, so he just trusts and follows anyone who will criticize them, no matter how stupid and unjustified their arguments are. So, the Pokemon that best resembles Abner, in my opinion, is Wishy-Washy, the tiny, annoying crybaby that turns into a dangerous movement when many of them come together. Now, for the last character of this video, the one and only King Julien. Well, King Julien the 13th, that is. My Pokemon of choice is Koraidon, the main legendary of Pokemon Scarlet. It is of unknown gender, but the Pokemon Company is kinda stupid, so they don't know the difference between biological sex and gender, and many Pokemon have a different appearance based on their gender, clearly showing that it is their sex and not their gender. So Koraidon is of unknown or neutral sex. We do know that it has the title Winged King, so not only is it presumably of male gender, it is also considered a king, just like Julien. In a way, and now these are some slight spoilers for the plot of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. If you don't want it spoiled, skip to the timestamp on screen right now. This mirrors how Koraidon is at least somewhat of a leader, or at least superior form of Cyclizar, like Julien is the king of the lemurs of Madagascar. As you know, Koraidon is basically a form of Cyclizar from an alternate past. And while Koraidon is a legendary Pokemon, it is basically a paradox Pokemon. Also, some artworks of the TCG depict Koraidon in a way that looks like it is the king of the paradox Pokemon. Aside from that, I think it looks a little bit like Julien. At least it has the feathers on its head that resemble Julien's crown, even more so the crown he has in Madagascar too. And while it has a very different color scheme, shiny Koraidon has colors that are very similar to the grey color of Julien. Julien and Koraidon may not be a perfect match, but I think they fit pretty well. Yeah, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments if you agree with my ideas or not, and also let me know which other characters you would want me to include in a future video. I also already have a list of some other characters and what Pokemon they would be, but if you have ideas on what Pokemon Maurice, Gloria or Chantal Dubois would be, I'd appreciate it if you left a comment. Alright, leave a like, subscribe, ring the bell, blah blah blah. I gotta hurry now because